How long does it take to learn a foreign language? The short answer is, it depends. However, I have much more I want to share with you about this topic in this podcast. My name is Franklin, and this is First1000hours.com. Don't give up on your language learning marathon. You can make it. You can make it through your first 1,000 hours. The importance of knowing how long it takes to learn a foreign language was really brought home in an article I read from a website called alphabetgreek.com. The article is called The Miracle of a Slow Learning Process, How Accepting Slow Helps You Progress Faster. In it, Danae talked about why she quit learning Spanish. She wrote, I was absolutely not okay with a slow process. The expectation of fluency in 6 months had ultimately cut my wings. I don't think Danae is the only one that has had an expectation of becoming fluent in a foreign language in 6 months. I remember reading an article on Medium called How I Learned Spanish in 8 Weeks. The author of that article said that he learned Spanish after only spending 150 hours with it. There are many similar articles online that talk about how people have learned languages really fast. But it's important to carefully analyze these articles to discover the author's definition of what it means to learn a language. His or her definition of learning a language might be much different than yours. When Danae started her language learning journey with Spanish, she was motivated and determined to learn it. She even spent at least 108 hours in a Spanish course in 3 months. But her lack of having realistic expectations on how long it takes to learn Spanish stopped her from continuing to learn it. She wrote, most of us live in a culture that appreciates fast and easy learning over slow and meaningful. Do you appreciate fast and easy learning over learning that is slow and meaningful? Your answer to that question may determine whether or not you're really ready to start or complete your first 1,000 hours of your language learning marathon. Do you get discouraged if you're not able to learn how to roll your R's after spending only 5 minutes learning a language like Swedish, Finnish, or Spanish? Do you think that you'll never be able to have a deep conversation in your target language with a native after spending 5 minutes learning a foreign language? If you've spent only 5 minutes reading, watching, or listening to something in your target language and you don't understand any of it, do you believe your language learning journey is hopeless? In contrast, do you cherish slow and meaningful learning? What does slow and meaningful look like in the context of language learning? According to Wikipedia, the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, abbreviated as CEFR, is a guideline used to describe achievements of learners of foreign languages across Europe and increasingly in other countries. 6 reference levels are becoming widely accepted as a European standard for grading an individual's language proficiency. Those 6 reference levels are called A1, a beginner level, A2, an elementary level, B1, a low intermediate level, B2, an upper intermediate level, C1, an advanced level, and C2, a mastery level. This is the CEFR's description of what a person can do at a B2 level. Can understand the main ideas of complex text on both concrete and abstract topics, including technical discussions in his or her field of specialization. Can interact with a degree of fluency and spontaneity that makes regular interaction with native speakers quite possible without strain for either party. Can produce clear, detailed text on a wide range of subjects and explain a viewpoint on a topical issue, giving the advantages and disadvantages of various options. This is a CEFR's description of what a person can do at a C1 level. Can understand a wide range of demanding, longer texts and recognize implicit meaning. Can express him or herself fluently and spontaneously without much obvious searching for expressions. Can use language flexibly and effectively for social, academic, and professional purposes. Can produce clear, well-structured, detailed text on complex subjects, showing controlled use of organizational patterns, connectors, and cohesive devices. Finally, this is the CEFR's description of what a person can do at a C2 level. Can understand with ease virtually everything heard or read. Can summarize information from different spoken and written sources, reconstructing arguments and accounts in a coherent presentation. Can express him or herself spontaneously, very fluently and precisely, differentiating finer shades of meaning even in more complex situations. How long does it take to get up to these different CEFR levels? This is what a Portuguese British Council website said. Individual learners will progress differently depending on many factors, such as exposure to the language and culture, knowledge of other languages, motivation, and so on. As a rough guide, Cambridge exams estimate that each level is reached with the following guided learning hours. A2, 100 to 200 hours. B1, 350 to 400 hours. B2, 500 to 600 hours. C1, 700 to 800 hours. And C2, 1,000 to 1,200 hours. In addition to the CEFR, another guide to get a rough estimate on how long it takes to learn a foreign language comes from the U.S. Foreign Service Institute School of Language Studies, or SLS. Before telling you the hours, here's some background on the SLS from FSI's website. It offers instruction in over 65 languages, with course length and curricula varying to accommodate a range of language proficiencies from basic to advanced. The following language learning timelines reflect 70 years of experience in teaching languages to U.S. diplomats and illustrate the time usually required for a student to reach professional working proficiency in the language, or a score of speaking 3, reading 3 on the Interagency Language Roundtable scale. These timelines are based on what FSI has observed as the average length of time for a student to achieve proficiency, though the actual time can vary based on a number of factors, including the language learner's natural ability, prior linguistic experience, and time spent in the classroom. This is what it means to be at speaking level 3, otherwise known as S3. A person at this level is described as follows: able to speak the language with sufficient structural accuracy and vocabulary to participate effectively in most formal and informal conversations on practical, social, and professional topics. Can discuss particular interests and special fields of competence with reasonable ease. Has comprehension which is quite complete for a normal rate of speech. Has a general vocabulary which is broad enough that he or she rarely has to grope for a word. Has an accent which may be obviously foreign. Has good control of grammar, and whose errors virtually never interfere with understanding and rarely disturb the native speaker. So that was the description of S3. This is a description of what it means to be at reading level 3, or R3. Able to read within a normal range of speed and with almost complete comprehension a variety of authentic prose material on unfamiliar subjects. Reading ability is not dependent on subject matter knowledge, although it is not expected that the individual can comprehend thoroughly subject matter which is highly dependent on cultural knowledge or which is outside his or her general experience and not accompanied by explanation. Text types include news stories similar to wire service reports or international news items in major periodicals, routine correspondence, general reports, and technical material in his or her professional field. All of these may include hypotheses, argumentation, and supported opinions. Misreading rare. Almost always able to interpret material correctly, relate ideas, and read in between the lines. That is, understand the writer's implicit intents in the text of the above types. Can get the gist of more sophisticated text, but may be unable to detect or understand subtlety and nuance. Rarely has to pause over or reread general vocabulary. However, may experience some difficulty with unusually complex structure and low frequency idioms. The FSI place the languages they teach into 4 categories to estimate how long will it take for a native English speaker to get to a speaking 3, reading 3 level, or S3, R3. Category 1 includes languages most similar to English, while Category 4 includes languages that are the least similar to English. These languages are in Category 1: Danish, Dutch, French, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Romanian, Spanish, and Swedish. The FSI estimates it'll take 24 to 30 weeks or 600 to 750 class hours to get to a S3, R3 level. The Category 2 languages are German, Haitian Creole, Indonesian, Malay, and Swahili. The FSI estimates it'll take approximately 36 weeks or 900 class hours to get to a S3, R3 level. In Category 3 are what the FSI calls hard languages, languages with significant linguistic and or cultural differences from English. Some of the languages in this category include Czech, Farsi, Greek, Hebrew, Hindi, Tamil, Somali, Russian, Tagalog, Ukrainian, and Polish. The FSI estimates it'll take approximately 44 weeks or 1,100 class hours to get to a S3, R3 level. In Category 4 is what the FSI calls super hard languages, languages which are exceptionally difficult for native English speakers. The languages in this category are Arabic, Cantonese, Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean. The FSI estimates it'll take 88 weeks or 2,200 class hours. If you want to read more of the language comprehension levels from the CEFR or the FSI, please check out the show notes of this podcast. Though there are other factors to consider, the time spent with a target language is one of the biggest metrics to determine whether or not people are going to get to a high level in their target language. According to my research, I personally define that time as at least 1,000 hours. After people spend 1,000 hours mainly reading and listening to things in their target language and speaking and writing when they have opportunity, I think they can more accurately answer these 2 pressing questions that language learners have. Will I ever be able to understand what people are saying in my target language? Will I ever be able to express myself naturally in my target language? As we've seen from the CEFR and the FSI language learning estimates, it takes much more than spending 5 minutes with a language to answer those questions. What kind of commitment is needed in our daily life to reach our first 1,000 hours in our language learning marathon? Here are my calculations. If people spend 5 minutes a day, 6 days a week with their target language, it'll take 36.46 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. If people spend 5 minutes a day, 3 times a week with their target language, it'll take approximately 76.92 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. If people spend 5 minutes one time per week with their target language, it'll take approximately 230.95 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. In addition, if people only spend 5 minutes per month with their target language, it'll take 1,000 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. Many people in the language learning community know that it's important to have frequent contact with a language throughout the week. But there's disagreement when it comes to the intensity of time we need to spend with our target language on a regular basis. As we've seen from my calculations so far, if our regular time investments in learning our target language is too small, we probably will not reach the goal of getting to our first 1,000 hours. Who do you think will have more endurance for running a marathon? The person who practices 5 minutes a day, 6 days a week, or the person who practices 1 hour a day, 6 days a week? Obviously, it will be the person who practices 1 hour a day for 6 days in the week. Likewise, the intensity of time matters for those who are seeking to use their target language as a skill instead of being a perpetual language learner. Frequency and intensity are both important components for successful language learners. Please consider these calculations. If people spend 1 hour a day, 6 days a week with their target language, it'll take approximately 3.21 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. If people spend 2 hours a day, 6 days a week with their target language, it'll take approximately 1.6 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. If people spend 3 hours a day, 6 days a week with their target language, it'll take approximately 1.07 years to reach their first 1,000 hours. If you're just beginning your language learning journey, it might be overwhelming for you to start spending 1 hour most days with your new language. However, as time progresses and you make language learning a habit instead of a random activity, the intensity of time should ideally increase to at least 1 hour a day, 6 days a week. The more you habitually read and listen to things in your target language, the easier it will be to get to that 1 hour goal. Also, getting to that 1 hour goal can be broken up into different parts in the day. I specifically used the word goal. There is a big difference between having a dream to learn a language and having a goal to spend 1,000 hours with your target language. Sometimes as language learners, we start out with a dream to learn a language without having goals to get us there. I believe for many people that God's gift of languages is directly linked to how we use the talent of time. TimeManagementNinja.com's website featured an article that highlighted 10 differences between goals and dreams. Point number 9 said, goals require hard work. Dreams just require your imagination. Dreaming is easy. Almost everyone has a dream, but fewer people have goals. Goals are hard and they require hard work. Is learning a foreign language a dream or a goal for you? I will let you think about that. My name is Franklin, and this is First1000hours.com. Don't give up on your language learning marathon. You can make it. You can make it through your first 1,000 hours.